is that these terms that Shah Saab brought up, he fabricated them. He made them up himself by getting them from other sects. Sultan. People, if you Google like fifth Sultan, first Sultan or whatever, you're gonna find a lot of different sultans. He's not the first one to claim any type of sultanate. But even if he did claim it, he still does not have a valid silsila to any of it. Even if he did claim it, he does not have a pure, or I should say, he does not have a lineage which actually gives him into the Ahlul Bayt. We don't know anything other than what he claims. And the books that he actually put them in, he got them from other books. You understand that?
Oh, wow.
Dr. Atia, who was in charge of Zavia bookstore while he was alive, who was doing most of the printing, they were doing really, that was his publication. She was there doing it on his behalf. She said that out of all, yes, they published like 20 books. But out of 20 books published through the publication of the Jamaat, which is Zavia Books, second counselor or first counselor, vice chancellor of Quranic Open University, none of them was what he wrote by his own hand. None of them were things that he dictated himself to be written entirely, no. They were all copy, cut, and paste. Cut, copy, paste.
Wow.
She admitted to it. All but 2 books. They really only wrote 2 books. Within that Zawiya publication, they only wrote 2 books, and she told me what they were. Otherwise, all the other 17, 18 books, all those were, cut, copy, paste. You see what I mean? So all you have to go on is, based on that, that's pure plagiarism anyway. Why should we even go any further than that? Like, why should we go beyond?
That thing already sounds fishy to me. You know how their family kind of like married Americans so they can like kind of get over there.
Yes, absolutely.
That was another one of their schemes, I guess, to marry to whatever, pretend like there is such a high people in Islam and the deen, and they came to a bunch of kind of, I guess you could say, lost people that was in the deen.
But that's ridiculous. And they put a lot of attraction and entertainment in the story, in the narration. Here comes a Sufi sheikh who has a high standard. He is the highest standard from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's from the spark of Allah. He comes out of the light of Allah. That's how strong and powerful. He can take you all the way to the court of Holy Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he comes with that, and he has his miracles over in North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, all of these miracles. You see what I mean? So it's that type of attraction. And look, everybody who was not of that mindset, but wanted something more than what they had, flocked for it. And then a lot of people actually did not even do more than just hear the word and they went.
Wow.
So he actually had a mission, and that mission needs to be made very clear, because that's the only mission I saw him do. If you really want to know what I heard of his mission to be, and what I seen that it did accomplish that, I'll tell you right now.
Well, what was it?
To break up the Darul Islam movement. And that did happen. That's the one thing that I can say Shah Saab did 100%, complete, successfully done. Well done, Shah Saab.
Dang, that is true, though.
Listen, as far as his predictions about people are going to be in grass and about Barack Obama, being the last president and Ahlul Bayt, none of that's been validated. None of that. As far as the Imam Mahdi is coming, he'll be here, you'll see him soon, just in a couple of years. That wasn't validated either. Right?
All right.
And the fact that, what is it, 2000 or some years he claimed that this would be anyway. None of his predictions, not a single one of his predictions. That's how bad it was. He couldn't even predict properly. Right? I didn't see any of that come to light.
Right.
Now, Yabu says that there are 3 reasons, or his mission was to come and teach us how to love Allah, His holy Nabi, and be ready for the day of judgment. Love Allah, love holy Nabi, and be ready for the day of judgment. There's nothing complicated with that. I mean, that's what the Quran says, right?
Right.
But if you didn't have the Quran, by what means are you doing it? Like, how are you coming about? I mean, what are you doing it with? I mean, what do you have better than the Quran to get it done? You have to have a sultanate, you have to have a qadri this or qadri that, but it's not authentic. Like, even his qadri sheikh cannot be cited. No one until today has been able to cite who his qadri sheikh was and where those talibs are. Where is Shah Saab's co-talibs in qadri order? That's what I'd like to know.
Right.
But anyway, you know what I mean? Like, there is no such thing. Like, even if you look at the silsila, I read the book where, they say which he claims to be the 6th sultan. But even that chain is broken up, because you had Fatima, and then you had Hussein, then Hassan al-Basri? Seriously? Like, do you know the difference between Hassan, like Imam Hussein and Hassan al-Basri? Do you know the difference between those two? So who was taking care of affairs? There was no sultan or something? You know what I mean? Seriously, but I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I said to Abu, I was like,
it'd be a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff in the Jamaat you could like laugh about, but it's like
no. Listen,
laugh, like, as in, like,
all I want to know
like
is here's what I would like to know. If you could see factual evidence that Shah Saab, Mubarak Gilani, what he claimed to be, he was being untruthful about it. If you see evidence that shows that he was lying, he was literally lying. He lied. He went with the flow. You all wanted to see miracles. He claimed that there was miracles. You all wanted to be involved in jihad. You had the jihadi mindset before he even came. So yeah, he said, let me take you all to Afghanistan and I'll show you all how to fight the Russians. Nobody who went over there, by the way, made it to the battlefield. They got arrested by the Afghanis, put in jail and then sent back over. So he couldn't do that successfully. Then he had them do all these illegal activities, assassinations, ordering assassinations, which they know he did. So that stopped him from even coming back, and he ran. He could not come back to the United States. So he could not successfully give orders without running away from the land and staying away. So that was unsuccessful too.
You know what's crazy too? I think I know. The FBI, I'm sure they know that too. I'm sure that's why they put him on a no-flight list to come back to America.
Listen, that was public knowledge. But what was not public knowledge was how is it that they put him like on a list, a terrorist list, but they never went over to Pakistan to arrest him. Even when General Musharraf was in charge, where they were just pulling people out of Pakistan, and just handing them over to Americans to take them over to Guantanamo Bay, he was left alone.
Right.
He was left alone, and now I know why.
He's a spy.
Exactly. The only purpose that really the only purpose that brought him over here was to break up a movement, the Dar al-Islam movement. That was the only reason he came. He didn't come to liberate us. We're still enslaved over here. He's gone now. He couldn't do it.
Right.
That was never his mission. And then when you have people all up and down, not just him, but people who are responsible or who are responsive to him, who took his orders, they were all corrupt people because he was corrupt. It was all a lie altogether. So it's like no matter what it is that we show you, no matter how truthful it is, you're going to still deny it. Because of the fact that you believe that he was a spark of Allah.
All right. Yeah,
you know what I'm
that's why
saying?
people deny it. That's why people don't want to hear it, because they have, like you said, they have that perception that he died with that perception, the same thing that he was a spark of Allah.
But what I don't understand, here's what I'm dying to understand. What was he successful at doing?
Just breaking up the Jamaat.
That's it.
Breaking up the.
He didn't listen. Dude. I don't see, like on a large scale, I have to ask your father. I'm like, listen, what is Shah Saab? I mean, based on what you said his mission was, it was to come to teach, you know, the people how to love Allah and how to love the Prophet and how to get, you know, how to be ready for the Akhirah. What you say you heard him say in all these discourses or what. I mean, I didn't find his English to be that clear though, you know, so I couldn't understand. I don't know how you came up with that. That's number one. Like you all are saying all these good, like listen, you all are saying all these straight good sentences about him, which I cannot even see him saying because his English not that good.
Robert, you know another thing that's crazy?
What's that?
Everything that went on in the Jamaat, you know how like stuff will go on in the Jamaat and they'll be like, oh, Abuji didn't hear about that. Abuji doesn't know about that.
Right.
That's why they're doing this.
Oh yeah.
But everything that went on in the Jamaat,
he knew about it.
He knew about it.
He knew about
everything.
He knew about what was going on.
I'm going back to another, referring to another situation with you and Qadi Ismail. When he was like, you can't, basically when they told you basically like, you can't teach the Quran here anymore. He knew what you, Shah knew about that. And like you said, he can't read the Quran. And he knew that, you know, I guess they think that when people that come in, basically like, almost like, hold on, how do I explain this? It kind of
well, I mean, actually, they didn't really get to that part. They never did tell me you can't teach Quran there anymore on Red House land. I made that decision when I found out.
Yeah, but they was.
Yeah, I mean, they had already started, you know, like, you know, I mean, I can read the signs on the wall. But that was again, right. You know what I mean? That was again because they tried to claim that they had the greatest miracle of mankind with the New York. And like you said, Qadi Ismail asked me what I thought about it. I said, whatever anybody wants to look at it and say they think about it, I haven't seen it. I haven't, you know. If somebody wants to look at it and say that it's their miracle, whatever. If I haven't seen it, I'm not going to say it's my miracle. So that word got around, like, you know, he's definitely, and then of course, you know, openly I said that it was wrong to consider that, even when the Quran is with us. But yeah, of course. See,
that's what they do to everybody. That's what they do to everybody. If you don't agree on something that they agree to, is they try to put it out, you know, in the thing, and everybody looks at it. Oh, it's a bad thing. Oh, you disrespected this, and that. Disrespecting our Jamaat. This, and that.
But that should have been checked early on, just like it should have been checked that he can't recite Quran. Both of those are the same. Like when you have this kind of, you know, injustice, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. How is it that so many people either got kicked out or simply left while knowing that there was that injustice there, instead of, you know, doing something to confront it? And a lot of it comes with arrogance. You know, a lot of it comes with ignorance. You don't know Quran, so you'll accept whatever somebody gives you. But if you think that you can enter Jannah just because of the fact that you're protective of somebody, then you definitely have it twisted. Just because you love somebody, that's going to how can you say, you know, you love Allah and you leave His Quran for something else? You know, that's serious. Like, how many of you really have knowledge of the Quran? Like, really have just sat and made it your affair, your business to learn Quran? So but you haven't done that. You haven't worked with that, but you're going to believe in somebody you never even met. These people who are here today, they never even met this man, and they're going to take what he said or what people said he said. They're going to associate that's shirk, that's kufr. You cannot substantiate and measure the Quran against him, really? You can take him and measure him against the Quran. You can easily do that. Like when you told about the Quran, I have one of them. I'm mentioning to them the Quran. Like Abu, for example, I said to him, I said, he could not read. We looked at it. We have done even analysis on his reading. And he said, I didn't know that. He said, Khalifa Yahya, rahmatullahi alayhi, 40 years ago when Shah Sahib came, he didn't say that. I said to him, simply, I want to make sure I understand. Like, simply put, you expect me, who has, alhamdulillah, the Quran, who you have already know has the Quran, you want me to go back 40 years, somebody who's already passed away, and ask and see what they said to you about whether this man can read? Do you see how do you live that far back in the past? Like, you trusted me enough to give me your son to take him all the way to Africa because of the Quran. But now when I tell you, point blank, simply put, your quote-unquote sheikh could not read the Quran. You want me to go back 40 years before he came, the person who accepted him along with you, and check whether or not that person said he could read or not. I never even met that person. You see the point?
Yep.
Like, reality begins to, become very, very, very scarce. When a person is living in the past so often, Now the man is, he's dead. Shah Sahib is dead. D-E-A-D. Oil change. You know what I mean? Shah Sahib now is dead. And he did not leave his affairs in order. He did not leave his affairs in adequate order, and I pray to Allah Ta'ala, not just me, none of my progeny generations who follow the pledge of allegiance of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam will ever leave their affairs in that manner. That's horrible. Where you cannot even write your will according to Quran, so that every relative get their right. In fact, you wrote it and left it such in a condition where it has to be taken to a Muslim court because your offsprings are complaining about your widow, who you have left some kind of tariqa silsila, where she consults and she advises a shura council and awaiting for the Mahdi to come in the meantime.
Hold on, what you said? Wait a minute. I kind of got that one, but you kind of worded that a little.
So, according to what Ya Abu is saying, the Shaykha, right, who Shah Sahib left in charge is his widow. She is the Shaykha now. Now she's made Shaykhaship. She's not the Imam of the Jamaat though. She's not the one who is going to lead the people in the Salah, obviously. She doesn't give khutbahs, right? But she has been given the secret of his shaykhhood. He's left his secrets with her. And the Jamaat has a Shura Council. And this Shura Council does not include her, but they get their guidance from her.
What the heck?
Exactly. That is so different from the Khalifat of Abu Bakr, the Khalifat of Umar ibn al-Khattab.
So different, because
that is like, you cannot, I had to say, listen, I had to say to Ya Abu, I said to him, show me where you can find this model in any of the prophets, any of the companions. You will never find it there. This is made up. He made this up himself. You know what I'm saying? He made this up himself. You probably don't want to accept it, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, a lot of them, they just at the point where they don't want to accept. It's a matter of, if I accept it, then I've practically
wasted my life, basically doing the wrong thing of.
Yeah, whatever it is that, here's what I'm saying, like, when are they going to come to the realization that not only is this falsehood false, but it is in contradiction of the Quran, and by following it, you have subscribed to polytheism. You've subscribed to shirk. And if you continue to be disobedient, then you are a rebel of Allah. You have rebelled against Allah's order. He ordered you to hold firm to the Quran. Huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the situation. Oh, thank you. So, I mean, what I had to ask him, you know, he said, so, and the reason why I had to bring that up, he said, like, what have you seen or heard Shah Sahib do that was not according to the Quran? I said, there it is, right there, this example. How do you leave your wife in charge of the Jamaat?
Man, they kick people out Jamaat, and it look down on people that's not in the Jamaat, like, oh, it's a sin if you're not in the Jamaat.
Well, you got, that's the cult part. Listen.
What does Allah